inspiring biblical families. Turning Hearts Podcast with your hosts, Ryan Phillips and Dennis Aldy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turning Hearts Podcast. Ryan Phillips, Dennis Aldy here.
Here we are.
Today, we're going to be talking to all the single men. And
single people.
Yeah, we'll speak to the women as well, I'm sure, somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Single people, that's a good way to say it. And preparing to not be single anymore.
Yeah.
And how to do that right. What should you look for? What are some of the things you should do to prepare?
That's a great question.
Let's give some insight for those that might be wondering how to do this before the Lord and how to find the right one, so that all these.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can't say we'd avoid all these issues, but at least we'll be most prepared for the best marriage day one.
Yeah. Boy, what a great question. I just realized we could have just taken the things you said and had 3 podcasts. Because
this one's going to be 3 hours long.
That's right. No, we're going to keep it pretty short and doable. But, yes, every single person that, not every, I guess, most all single people are out there saying, how do I get ready for this marriage thing? Because, we've all looked at probably our parents' marriage. We've all looked at our friends of our family's marriage and go, boy, I don't want that. Or there's something about it, some portion of it. I'm not sure I like that, or how do I not find myself in a similar situation? So what do I do to prepare for that? And great question. My first thoughts are, as far as how do I prepare, I think it's wisdom for every young adult, or even whatever your age adult, and you're pursuing marriage, or there should be I'm going to call it a list of priorities that you're looking for. What are we looking for here? Because, and again, a podcast of great length would be the whole discussion, is there one? And if I don't find the one, then I need to divorce till I find the one.
The big question is the one.
Yeah, is there one? And my personal belief is that the Lord can bring the one, or one, but it's not that you're out there and if you don't hit this one target mark, life is terrible for you. That is not the Lord. Biblically, so we'll take a second and talk on the subject, and that's not really how to prepare.
Yeah.
But biblically, I don't know if any of us can handle how marriage was handled. Yeah. Biblically,
the dad picked the one.
And whoever he picked was the one.
Yeah, right.
And so here's the point, because obviously we're not advocating dads going out and picking everybody's.
Going way back.
That's the biblical way.
Yeah.
Is that, instead of that scenario, it's the fact that we're looking for someone with this list of qualities that we think we like, that we think would be compatible. And so instead of this picking of this one and it being dad, the point of dad and the point of that biblical story is that it's not about this feeling of mushiness. It's about covenant. And I personally believe marriage was so that God could show the earth, for family and all these, and he wants a family, he's a father, he wants children, his son wants a bride. Everything is family language from the heart of God, but it's about the covenant of family, the commitment, the till death do us part of marriage. And that's why it wasn't so much that I kind of feel a crush towards that person, so maybe they're the one. It was, no, it's been set up that we would be compatible, or that we would choose to commit to each other, and we would love each other by choice. And if the church could just kind of spin that back around, that love is a choice, and it's not, we want feelings, and I promise you will have feelings, but it's the choice to get up and love someone that's powerful. The Bible even says, and I know I'm getting off subject, but the Bible even says, if you love somebody that's easy to love, have you done anything? And the answer is
No.
no. That was easy. But it's if you love someone that's difficult to love, now we're talking about it takes the grace of God to do these things. And now we're beginning to get into supernatural, spiritual kind of love.
Yeah.
And so, we won't do the dad shoes thing. But we need a list. That's why we start with this list, I would say. How do I prepare as a single person? I write down, and I've told my own sons and daughters, so I've got 7. One's married, one's passed away, the third one's engaged right now, and the fourth one is in this pursuing process. Anyway,
you're in the midst of
we're how do you find
all
this
the
spouse?
spectrum?
But I as a father, I'm listening to those sons and daughters as to and I try to repeat back to them what I've heard. One of mine really was looking for this certain quality, and I heard them say it, and they didn't even know they were saying it like 12 times over a year, or just talking with them about it. And so when they started talking about young ladies, I was like, "Does she have that one?" And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I've heard you say you want that. Does she? And there was a time where one of them, I don't know if she does. And so anyway, a list. So if you're out there and you're preparing, have a list. What are those qualities? Because, if you had 10 qualities, I don't know that she's going to have all 10. And so what is that most important quality?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you if you'll remind me, maybe I should do it now. What are some of the ones I would put on that list?
There you go.
Maybe I'll just do that right now. I would advise young adults that before you begin to even pursue a spouse, that the number one thing I would say, obviously we're attracted to them. I mean, those I'm not going to speak about because I think that you should be attracted to them.
The obvious ones.
Yeah, the obvious. I think you want to have seen, not heard, not your girlfriend telling you a story about it, but you have seen them be teachable and walk in humility. Okay, and what does it mean to be teachable? It means they messed up and they allowed somebody to correct them, and they walked through being corrected well. How do you see that in a friend? Well, you have to be a friend to somebody first to see that. You don't just go to college and you see some, and I'll take it from a guy's point of view, you see some nice looking young lady across and you heard her pray a prayer that was powerful. You're like, oh, this is the one, I'm convinced.
She loves Jesus, she's beautiful.
No, you and about 20 other people start hanging out with her. And if she's human, she's going to mess up. And you can be close enough without telling her. Because the minute you tell a girl or a girl tells a guy, I like you, all ability to get to know them's off, because they're going to be tempted to, build themselves up so you'll like them even more.
Show you everything.
They're going to show you all their good qualities.
Yeah.
So we have a list. Teachability and humility would be at the top of mine. And again, that's outside of, are they saved? Do they love Jesus truly? Am I attracted to them? So those are the real top, but when it gets down to what am I looking for, I want to say that I've watched them walk through a teachable experience where they were hopefully even corrected. And did they rebel against correction? And how dare that person? Or did they go, I'm so thankful they spoke into my life. That'd be powerful for your marriage.
Yeah.
That'd be a real good one.
That would.
Obviously, another big one, and I have on a list here I made about answering this question. Read some good books. How do you prepare your heart? You have to read some good books. And I'm going to mention 2 that probably aren't that heard of. They're written by a really, I think she's well known, Elizabeth Elliot.
Yeah.
A lot of us know the story of her first husband. They were missionaries in, what's the name?
Is it Tip of the Spear?
Tip of the Spear.
Yeah.
I was going to say something of the Spear.
Yeah.
Was the movie about it? But
I just found that out that was her.
She wrote a book called I just forgot the name. I think it's How to Be a Woman and How to Be a Man.
Let Me Be a Woman.
Let Me Be a Woman and Let Me Be a Man. But and those books are really not about how to find your spouse, but in there she touches on it. And she made a statement that I was so thankful she made, because I had shared this with my own kids. And so it was good to have a book confirm it.
Yeah, it's not just Dad.
Yeah. She said, as a part of this spouse list of qualities I want, it should have on the list, I've watched her family, and her family's values are similar to my family's values, or his family's values are similar to my family's values. Now, that right there just eliminated probably half the people you've been thinking about. All right. And so I just made the task of finding a spouse real hard. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. God can move. God can speak. I'm not overriding or saying, oh, that's wrong. Matter of fact, I'm praying that happens for all of us. Oh, I had a dream last night and the Lord said, this is the one. Well, if that happens to me, I'm not going to go ask her to marry me tomorrow. I'm going to start to get to know her, to see if does a spouse list work. And I'm not going to deny if I really heard God's voice. And then, but I'm going to begin to pursue with caution in that case. But God doesn't always do that.
No.
That's probably the 20% time.
The people that are listening to this and watching this, clicked on this. They haven't had that.
That hasn't happened.
Well, they wouldn't be
now, they're still
this.
praying for it.
Right.
And keep praying for it. But this family value thing, and I think about my story. I didn't really know well my wife's family values. I got to know them a little, because our story is kind of one of those God speak, miraculous, and if we have time, I'll share it because we love stories. But to know those family values is just a real good one to have on there. And when I say values,
I was going to say define them, because some people may not have had a family that made those.
They even know what their family values are.
Right, what are my family values? So, good thing to write down as well.
So in those family values, what do they believe about roles in marriage? That's a big one.
It's huge.
It's more than huge. Okay. And do they agree with what you think or you believe the Bible says? What do they think about parenting? It's huge. Because trust me, after you get married, kids are coming. That's the fruit of the marriage is children. And if mom and dad totally disagree on what that's going to be like, we got a lot more extra fights coming on down the road.
Heading for the mountain range.
So when I say family values, I mean marriage roles, parenting, and we may not on every practical way that husband and wife are relating or parents and children are relating, but the value is similar. And then, church value. How does this family look at the church versus this family looking at church? Work ethic. All these are family values that we're testing out, that we're checking out. So there's a list. I encourage you as a young adult, make a list. Check it twice. Find out if they're naughty or nice. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But have this list. And then as you're praying, we're praying about this, and you see someone that you're like, okay, let me compare them to my list. Don't just be thrown off by their looks and forget the list, Do they? And all of a sudden you see that the top two are not there, but the bottom three are. I don't know. Proceed with caution. That's how we're finding them. But the question, I think, is even how do I prepare my heart?
Right.
To prepare your heart for marriage, I think you've got to have your heart submitted to adults that have a marriage that you want one like. Okay. So maybe if you're a young man and you're wanting to prepare your heart for marriage, maybe you pick one man, maybe two, that you've seen their marriage, and you just say, hey, I want to be married someday. Would you meet with me over coffee, once every 3 weeks, once a month, and just let me ask questions, let you check my heart out.
Yeah, here's my list. What do you think about it?
Well, here's my list, but even why are these in my heart?
Yeah.
And I'm going to, I call them coaches because I don't like the counseling word just because it implies things, but I'm a coach. I love coaching and all of that. But in this coaching time with this, if you're a young man with an older man whose marriage you like what you see in it, it's, do you see in my heart things that would be difficult roadblocks in marriage? But I want to define this. Marriage was created by God to expose your difficulties, to expose your lies, your selfishness. It's created by the Lord to shape you and to prune you and to reveal them, because that's the thing in marriage is I've known I had these, but I'm pretty good at disguising them to myself. And when you live with somebody all day, every day for longer than a day, it's hard for you to disguise them to them. And now you've been living together 2 years, and they not only are they not disguised, they're the exact thing that they hate. And you the same for them. And so now we're getting to do what Christianity is, and that's choose to die on a cross for someone else, like Jesus died on a cross for someone else. So marriage is going to have those difficulties. But how do we get it and get in there with a foundation for it to grow and build and be everything the Lord wanted? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm committing in a relationship for an older man, if you're a young woman, to an older woman, to have my heart checked. That's the number one way I would prepare.
Yeah.
Submitting to an authority so that they can help me discern my own heart. And in that, we're learning, what is marriage like? Ask those questions. What's it like after 5 years of marriage? And so I would say that person, in my advice, doesn't need to be married less than 10 years, maybe really 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd want somebody with the wisdom,
the full
of
picture.
Years of what marriage is. And again, you see the fruit of it. So submitting yourself to a coach, reading great books. There's tons of books on marriage. Some of them I would never encourage you to read because they don't agree with your family values. So don't read them.
Yeah.
Find ones.
How to need a helpmeet?
How to need a helpmeet's a
Michael
great
Pearl.
one. Women, how to created to be a helpmeet.
Yeah.
Those are, a lot of people think those are very controversial. In my opinion, they're very much
one of the best books.
a best book to encourage your heart to be prepared for what marriage is.
Yeah.
Now there's some extreme scenarios in there that really offend people. It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean your marriage is that way or you have to
Yep.
But the concept of what those books are saying are A+.
John Piper's got a lot of good stuff as well on relating marriage to Jesus and the cross.
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
what we've talked about.
Absolutely. I think that this whole process for preparing our hearts, do your own Bible study, or maybe this is what your coach is doing with you. You're going through the scriptures on marriage. I think it helps us to look at how biblically there was this pattern that a dad picked the bride, or the dad's work. Because that just gives us this perspective going into marriage that I'm not advocating that we do that, but that we have the understanding of covenant. Boy, if you want to know what to be reading about, read books on covenant. And the commitment and the till death do us part. And then I guess the best way I would say that we really prepare for marriage is we're under an authority or two, and they're having the ability to make us go through those teachable moments. And now somebody can see us doing that, and maybe they're attracted to us.
Right. Instead of just looking for it in her.
Yeah. I'm becoming it.
I want to be that.
Yeah.
I want to do that same thing too.
Yeah. Because again, it would be wise to write out, what does a biblical leader look like? Because we see all types on the earth. We see if the role of the leadership of the home is male according to the Bible, and we've had pods on that and talked about that. Well, what does that look like? Is it because we know it's not this tyrant up here being a meanie and a boss and a jerk and everybody falls at the feet. It's none of that. So, in that relationship with this a coach and they're testing, we're addressing what can I look at as a leader? Because for guys today, we had all types of leaders. Ones that are strong leaders, weak leaders, middle, it's just every scenario. And what, a great way is, what am I responsible for as a man? And I would just tell you it's everything. Well, how do I prepare for that? Well, you begin today taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Because right now, there's a 22-year-old young man, and he's a great, godly young man. But he, his parents help him out a lot, and that I love to help my 25-year-olds out. I mean, I want to help all I can, but at the same time, I, as a parent, am wanting to build in them the character to take on and do things themselves.
Yeah.
And train in them that a man initiates. We've said it, I can't, how many times. And so how do you initiate? Well, you initiate when things need doing. You don't wait for somebody else to hope they find it out. And they take it. So we're preparing by talking about what does this responsibility and leadership look like for a man. And then I think it's wise for young women, what does it look like to be a helpmate? How practically do I prepare my heart to come alongside and help this soon-to-be man? I don't even know who he is. What does it look like? Does it look like a doormat? No. How do we, and so we're building in our minds and in our hearts this better picture. It can only be worked out when we get married.
Yeah.
Dara and I, we do a lot of premarital counseling. And I every time when we get into just some days where it's just, okay, ask us something, y'all been dating or whatever this long, and what are some things that are coming up, and I've had to give this answer many times because it's true, and that's why I'm adding it into what we're talking about right now. That one can't be answered till you're married. There's some things that only the foundation of a covenant can give you the answer for. So that's why, we're getting a picture for it, but I may not have the full answer to it, and I won't until I'm married.
If you, for the men, being a leader, you might be an excellent leader in work, overseeing, depending on what your job is, overseeing lots of other employees, or you might be a pastor, or you might be a youth pastor. You might have different realms of leadership in your life, but there's no leadership in your life that will be like marriage. Yeah. And so you can only experience it once you're there. Yeah. But at the same time, there's ways to prepare yourself for that experience. I think what you're getting at.
Totally. And so all of these are steps of preparing that the marriage is going to bring to real reality and fruition. And trust me, there is no perfect human. Don't try to be.
That's the whole, you need to know that you fail, and you need to know she fails, and how do you respond?
Both of you are going to fail. So part of this time with this coach is learning how to handle those failures, both of your own, take responsibility, forgiveness, or asking for forgiveness, and of your spouse, forgiving, and not letting those things build walls. So those are just huge things, and so many of them we won't be able to do. But hopefully, truthfully, we're supposed to be learning that with our brothers and sisters, and with our parents, and with our friends. And so we've been developing those muscles, and we're getting stronger, and we go into marriage with strength. Doesn't mean we go in there perfect, because it's impossible, but we go in with strength. I'll also say this. I can't say this enough or stress this enough, that when you're pursuing that person, I pray that you've submitted that person and your pursuit of that person to your parents. And if your parents and your relationship isn't good or one that could do that or handle that, and sometimes parents are like, I don't want nothing to do with that because when y'all get mad, I don't want you angry at me.
Yeah.
No, parents, I believe, play a vital role in just helping us think, not telling us who to marry or those kinds of things, but helping us think about things we don't know. So, but if it's not your parents, again, this coach or another couple, and they're spending time, and so all of it is just this season of saying, Lord, here's my heart. I know I'm going to be selfish. I know, I confess that there's no way not to be. There's no way not to go into marriage with selfishness, with wrong ideas about marriage, about leadership, about helpmate, about everything. But we want to gain the best heart that we can and the best understanding of those subjects. So grabbing that person, reading those books, making that list of what we're looking for are really key ways of preparing our heart for that. Reading the Bible again, getting a book that's the biblical language on marriage, understanding covenant. That's how I would tell any young adult, my own young adults that are preparing for marriage. And unfortunately, I'll end with this statement. Marriage is really difficult by design of God. But I want you to always know it's the greatest thing on earth. If you follow the design of the Lord, you get something that every soul has longed for. Now you have to work for it. It doesn't come because you gave the sign and prayed the right prayer. It comes through great diligence. It comes through night and day working. It comes faithful discipline. But it's a joy.
It is.
It's awesome. It's a thing to look forward to. Don't be afraid of it. That's the beauty of this coach and counselors, is that they help take out some of that fear. Am I making the right decision? But listen to them, trust their wisdom, and that's how I say you prepare for marriage.
And be blessed. Marriage is a wonderful thing.
Amen. It's the best of the best, in my opinion.
Bless you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Turning Hearts podcast.